A lot of people like doing conditioning work as an aid for helping them get their fat loss results faster, and I completely support that. One of the big problems I see, however, is people originally kind of get into this cardio mode where they think, oh, I need to do as much cardio as possible in order to get those fat loss results, and then they end up feeling injured, or not feeling injured, they are injured. They injure their knees, their hips, their ankles, whatever it might be, shoulders, depending on what your cardio choice is. So the problem with this, of course, is if conditioning is a big part of your program and you can't do it, well, you're not going to be progressing. And if you're not progressing, you're not getting your fat loss, and then you're just not getting the results that you want. And that's just not a good option to have. So in this short video clip, we're going to go over certain types of cardio that you can use that are very, very joint friendly for pretty much everyone. We're going to go over, if you are having some sorts of aches, pains, or injuries, what other types of cardio you can do while you heal so that you're able to keep those gains coming and keep the momentum going. And I want you to be able to have the knowledge so that when any type of injury occurs to you to do with conditioning, you can work around it and you can keep on getting results. So the first thing I want to go over is, why do people get injured from their conditioning work? I mean, it's pretty simple. Why does anyone get injured? Generally from poor form, from overuse, or in terms of running, it's just constant pounding on the joints. So that's why when you're doing your conditioning, if you're doing it as smart as possible, you need to be monitoring things like your volume. Volume is really important. So that's, how long you're doing it for or what your distance is. If you look at like marathon runners and everything like that, and I'm not a marathon runner coach, so I'm not going to pretend to know everything, but I do coach a lot of people who I help with the strength portion of their conditioning program, and they all have like very specific programs where the volume is, tapered or linear or whatever, and they all have back off weeks. Same with kind of weight training, right? So that's kind of the reason that you get injured. If you're doing too much work too fast, your joints are going to feel it and they're going to tell you to back off. And if you don't listen, that's when bigger injuries are going to happen. So if you do have some sort of conditioning program that you're using on top of your strength training, make sure you're smart about it. Make sure if you feel some sort of aches and pains, make sure you're doing your soft tissue work, or you're going to someone who can help you, or you're doing any flexibility work that you need. But just don't pretend like it just doesn't exist and push through. You're not proving anything to anyone other than that you're an idiot and that you just don't care that much about getting results. So the next point I want to go over is, what is joint-friendly conditioning? Joint-friendly conditioning is essentially just doing conditioning work where you can do it to a point of volume that it won't cause an injury to you. So different things are going to work better for different people, but I'm going to just go over what I find kind of works generally for a lot of people. The fact is, there's some people who could just run super long distances. Maybe they're even heavy and they don't get joint pain. And in all honesty, my kind of conclusion on this is that it's just genetic. Some people just have the ability to have a lot of wear and tear on their joints from running specifically, and others are just not meant to do it. And unfortunately, if you're not meant to do it, it's kind of hard to work around, but it is what it is. So things that I really like for conditioning are simply exercises that don't have kind of a constant pounding on your joints. So this can be upper or lower body exercises. So a couple of the ones that I really like, and these are just simple machines that you'll have in the gym. I really like the spinner, and I really like the Concept 2 rower. Airdyne bike, also excellent. These three machines are simple because there's no constant impact on your body. Everything's nice and smooth. If you have some sort of injury, maybe you won't be able to do one of them, but you can try another one. But from my experience using this on clients, no one's really ever gotten hurt, and you can do a pretty high volume on these machines, provided you work up to it. You can work up to an hour. I don't know if you want to do that, but you definitely can without having too many negative consequences. Whereas if you're running or using the treadmill, these are the types of things where these injuries start mounting up, and you'll have to kind of figure out something else to do. If you really do like running, the pushing a sled, even like if you have like a sled simulation machine, which I have, which is an awesome machine, or an actual sled, although you have to basically do intervals if you have an actual sled, because you can't just kind of keep going in a straight distance. That's really good. There's the Air Runner, which is kind of the self-powered treadmill, which I think is also really good. Just because of the way it's angled, it's a little bit easier on the joints, but it's still probably not the greatest compared to the first three that I discussed. So just keep that in mind when you're trying to create your conditioning program. What machines you're using is very important. Another point on the conditioning part is, what type of conditioning are you doing? There's so many different types. You can do your regular steady state cardio where you're going for 30 to 90 minutes. And if that really doesn't work, you can start breaking things down into more interval type training where you're using slightly higher intensities, which is again perfectly fine as well. So if you are finding that a higher volume of just kind of steady state isn't working, then you might need to start trying some different types of intervals or trying different machines. That can obviously help a lot with bringing your pain down or preventing it from happening in the first place. So if an injury does occur, what can you do to kind of work around that injury so that you can keep expending calories without making your body's ability to recover kind of impaired? Probably my favorite way of working around this is swimming. There's not a lot of people who just can't swim. Even if you have some sort of issue with your knees or your hips, you can just put something in between your legs that floats and just use your upper body. And just because of the buoyancy of water, it's very soothing and has a good ability to help you recover. So swimming is great, and it's really easy on the joints. You just, you can't swim too much. I mean, obviously you can because it's tiring as hell, especially for me. But swimming is definitely a really, really good way to expend calories while you're coming back from an injury. That's probably my number one thing to do. The other super simple thing to kind of think of is, okay, if you have a lower body injury, what can you do with your upper body to do conditioning? Things like battle ropes are excellent for that purpose. And then if you have an upper body injury, there's numerous things you can do for your lower body with conditioning, so I won't really get into that. So to conclude, first we went over why people got injured from conditioning work. It's pretty straightforward: overuse and poor technique. Number two, we went over what are joint-friendly conditioning machines or movements that you can use, and gave you some very, very simple machinery that's found in the majority of gyms. And then lastly, we went over how we can work around any type of injury using swimming, or if you have an upper body injury, you do lower body things, etc. Very straightforward stuff. So if you know anyone who is injured from their conditioning work and has the goal of fat loss or just wants to get better conditioning, please feel free to share this with us. I know a lot of people are injured from their conditioning work and they're kind of stubborn as to what to do to work around that, and hopefully this video can be a resource for them to learn from and hopefully keep doing their conditioning without getting injured. So if you like this video, please hit that like button. Really appreciate that. If you enjoy these types of videos, please hit that subscribe button. I got a lot more coming to you. I look forward to talking to you again very soon. Peace.